What's that? What's that on your face?
On what face? That's called the quarantine beard.
Yeah, you see mine. Dude, wow.
I missed my barber's appointment, and I've been in the hole for about 16 days now. So
yeah,
the grays are starting to come out.
Yeah. Look at me. I look like a walrus with whiskers.
All right, we're getting everybody in here. What I'm going to do is just have the board members themselves be unmuted. So let me go ahead and start organizing that. Okay, 1 second. All right. And we're going to unmute there. Okay. Just a little bit larger here. Unmuting all over here. Bear with me as I set this up. So far we have Christine as well as Troy. Ask Christine to unmute. Let's see.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
have Christine and Troy unmuted. Christine, can you speak? Yes,
Yeah.
you're unmuted as well. Perfect. Okay, let's wait for the other two board members and we'll go ahead and start this.
Okay.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna keep the board members unmuted so they can have their discussions. And if there is a question that needs to be asked by one of the association members, they can go ahead and obviously wave and we will go ahead and give them the floor. Okay, but that'll be at the end of this.
Are we not allowing them to talk before we vote on any issues?
Well, we're not going to be voting on any issues at this moment. We're just going to be discussing the legal fees.
Oh, so there's no motions going to be made?
At this moment, there is going to be a recommendation for one, but we'll see if the board wants to move forward with it.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's see. We'll still give it a couple of minutes for Shahab and Maria to jump on here.
Whose picture is that? Who's that? That doesn't look like Troy.
Who's texting me?
All right, we're still waiting two board members, so let's give it a few more minutes.
Who's texting me?
Let's see what the other two are. Still pending here. Give me 1 second. Bear with us a few minutes. We're having a slight technical difficulties, okay? Give us a few more minutes.
Okay.
Shahab, you received it. You should be able to sign in now. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what we have here. We have Troy, we have Christine. Shahab does not appear to have signed in just yet. When Shahab signs in, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Maria, I don't see her here yet. Maria, can you unmute yourself? There we go. Maria, are you there? Can you confirm you can hear us and you can speak?
Hello.
Good afternoon, Maria.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Okay. We have one person left and we'll go ahead and start. Shahab just needs 2 more minutes and then we'll start this meeting. Okay, perfect. Give me 1 second. Still mute.
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you, Shahab.
Great. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I was having a technical difficulty on my end. My apologies.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is currently 3:11. Thank you for joining us for this Riverfront Master Board meeting. We are going to jump right into it. I'm going to ask that everybody else is going to remain on mute, except for the board members themselves, so that way they can have their discussions when it need be. And in the end, we will go ahead and take any comments on the agenda item from the association members. So let's get to our agenda first, and we'll reach out at the end. So we're going to call to order. I'm going to check in. We do have Christine Michaels present. We do have Shahab Karmely present. We do have Troy Taylor present, and we do have Maria Elena present. Okay. Proof of the notice of the meeting was posted and emailed to everyone as of July 13th and on July 14th, emailed to the association membership. Okay, we're gonna go through just a really quick cleaning of the house. There are 2 board meeting minutes that we have to go through. It'll be really short, so it won't take more than a couple of minutes. 1 second so I can share that screen. The first board meeting minute, just so that there's clarification, the minutes that we're reviewing, the original date of the meeting was supposed to be on December 17th, but it did have to change to December 19th due to scheduling. So on the agenda, on the notice, you'll see that it's marked as December 17th, but the meeting actually took place on December 19th. The meeting itself, we had the calling of roll. Everybody was present except for Maria Elena, who was out due to illness. We did have Gary Mars, our legal counsel, present in person as well. This meeting on December 19th was basically a meeting to approve the minutes of the Board of Directors meeting on 8/15/19, 9/20/19, and November 26, 2019. Okay. The topic of this, there were several agenda items. They range from the 2020 budget and projects to a homeless update, security update, Marina Riverwalk update, as well as Children's Park update. Unfortunately, the first agenda item took so much time that we didn't get to the others. But basically what was discussed in this meeting was that Troy Taylor led with a summary of a 3-year vision the board had set for the Riverfront in 2016. The final phase of that was the upgrade to the security infrastructure of the community that it was lacking. SK continued with the synopsis of his vision for the Riverfront and how he wants to turn this community into an upscale residential complex. Gary Mars, our legal counsel, summarized the composition of the board and how the voting rights are divided. He also explained the litigation that the Riverfront completed with the declarant to reach these voting rights. Christine Michaels then opened the floor for questions directly related to the 2020 approved budget. Several line items were discussed and the floor was open to membership to ask questions. After almost an hour of exchange, the board agreed that management will continue to explain the remaining questions that remained after the adjournment. So after that, we obviously adjourned the meeting at 2:31 p.m. Would the board like to make a motion to approve these minutes?
Make a motion.
Anybody second?
I second.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Maria. Minutes approved. The second minutes we're going to go through is going to be of the
Hey,
board.
Alan, I think Christine's still on mute. I think Christine has to unmute herself. No, you have to allow her to unmute.
I thought she had. Sorry.
Because if you go on mute,
Yeah, no, I didn't mute myself. It said the host had muted me and only the host could unmute me. So I've been trying to talk.
Sorry.
Alan, my question is, I did not get a copy of these minutes prior to the meeting that you normally send.
sorry, they weren't in the attachment. The things are a little bit off right now, but I have them here. It's displayed on the screen. Do you see them?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't received them in advance as you normally do.
Okay,
One thing I think should be added that came out of the meeting
sure.
was that Shahab, because there was much discussion on the budget, Shahab did invite us as owners to submit any type of proposal. And so it was encouraged by Gary Mars to submit a budget proposal so we can revisit it. I think that's very important, should be added to the minutes.
Okay. Was there any ever a proposal submitted at this point?
Yes.
Did you guys ever go to one?
We did submit one, and it has yet to be reviewed and discussed.
Okay. I was not aware of a submittal of a proposed budget. So what
Yes,
we'll do
yes, you
is-
did, because you forwarded it to the board in March.
So, hold on, in 1 second. So this is what we're going to do, because at this point we haven't touched on the budget subject at all. So what I'm going to do is add the additional line there that states that Shahab did mention that he would be willing to review or accept budget proposals. Is that okay with the rest of the board?
Well, let me say for the record, I don't have a recollection of it, but having said that, I would still encourage it because it's an open forum, so I have no issue with that.
Okay. So I will go ahead and
Same here.
add it to this before we
It's-
sign off on this.
Yeah, same here. I think it was Gary Mars that said, hey, we're not going to do a line item by line item by line item budget review here. It's just going to take infinitum. So he did extend and say maybe the best way to do this is for there to be a submission of questions around a budget. And I believe that was sent over. So I don't have a problem with that being added to the minutes.
Yeah. But it wasn't me, Alan, so just go with the correct recollection. and add it
No,
in
we
this.
do have it all recorded, and Shahab did graciously say,
Okay,
I welcome
fine.
any proposal.
I welcome it. Let's move on. It's fine. Doesn't matter.
So I will add that, and then I will bring this up for the board to approve offline, okay?
Okay.
The second minute that we have to approve is just the
So
quick April
Alan,
15th meeting that
one-
was held.
Hey, Alan?
This was,
Hey, Alan?
Alan?
go ahead.
Just one thing.
Go
So
ahead.
we've added some comments to the minutes
ahead,
that
Troy.
you read. You added some
Can you hear
comments
me?
to the minute.
Go ahead, Troy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Can
hear
you hear
you.
me?
Yes.
Yeah, you just added some comments or some additional words to the minutes that were read. So
Right.
I think what I would do is I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended by Christine's Christine's mention of some budget stuff, and then we can move to the next minutes.
Right, what I'd like to do is just add that, and I will just finalize that at the next board meeting, just to make it simple and so that's on record. I just want to make sure that we have the writing and we all read the exact wording and we're all in agreement with it.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry. I do need to add something very important. I'm sorry. We do have Carolina Shire, Ivy Legal Counsel, joining as well.
Understood. Okay. So yeah, we move on to these final minutes that we do have to approve. It was from the April 15th meeting that was held to select the legal counsel that would defend or at least represent the Master Association based upon the claims made by the Ivy Association's demand letter. So this meeting was held on April 15th. Everybody was present on the meeting. It was done over phone conference. The minutes of the 12/19 board meeting were not read due to time conflicts, and they were read obviously during this meeting, but we're going to go ahead and push this to the following meeting to finally approve. But the only agenda item was a discussion of the selection of outside legal counsel to defend the Master Association for claims made by the Ivy Association's demand letter. Management led a meeting off advising the board of the new Ivy demand letter inquiring about the marina. Management obtained 3 engagement letters from these firms: Burke, Carvado, Schutz and Bowen, Ackerman. And after discussion in the meeting, it was, SK made the motion to hire Ackerman to represent the master, and responding to the Ivy demand letter, Maria Elena seconded the motion. Joe Taylor was in favor, Christine Michael was against. After that, the meeting was adjourned at 3:36. It was really quick. Anybody would like to make a motion to approve these minutes?
I make a motion.
Yeah, I would second those. That accurately reflects my recollection of what took place at that meeting.
Okay. Meeting minutes approved for the second one. And we will go back and revisit the 12/19 minutes for the following meeting.
Did we vote on it? Did we vote on it just now? I heard a motion and a second.
Second. I heard Maria, or maybe I didn't
Yes,
hear
I
Maria.
approve.
Okay.
Yeah, I approve. I approve.
Perfect.
So the minutes are approved. Thanks.
All right, I'm getting a little echoing here, so, okay, perfect. So minutes were approved. Now, we're gonna go on to the lone agenda item involving legal expenses. Manager just wants to bring to attention to the board.
Hey, Alan, again, maybe it's my screen, but I'm not seeing, you're clicking on files, but I'm not seeing the file when it opens.
Yeah, same here.
None of you are seeing the files?
No.
You just see
You
thumbnails.
have to open them. Double click.
That's what I'm doing on all of these.
Are they open on your screen?
They are open on my screen, and I'm share screening. I'm
Okay,
sharing
we're not seeing it. We're only seeing thumbnails. We're not seeing the whole.
Okay, give me a second. Let me see if there's a way to.
You normally share these in advance with us. Did we not receive these?
No, they weren't uploaded in there. So that's why I am going to the share screen. So give me a second.
We got the agenda, so we have that.
Right.
But it's good for you to pop it up so everybody can see the agenda.
I'm hoping that everybody can see new share. Here we go. Give me. Okay, I see exactly what. Okay, so here we have.
We all, wait a second, we all have the agenda. I'm not understanding the question. We all have the agenda. You can
Right.
open it on your phone.
Yes, we have the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay,
Do
there we go.
you guys see the invoice now for Ackerman?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Figured out how to do it. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
the agenda item we have is for legal fees. So it's just, I want to bring to the attention of the board the fact that we are accumulating an expensive amount of legal fees. I'm just going to go based off of our May invoice, which was about $32,000, was just to generate the response to the Ivy demand letter, which was eventually given to them on May 25th. It was sent out. Post that, we unfortunately had another expense between the end of June and July, where we had a board member who basically, through email communications with legal counsel, brought up an additional $16,000 in fees. So this $50,000 that we have so far does not include any Siegfried Rivera invoices that also are, that were, at least that board member did contact, and Christine, you did contact Gary Mars and Eddie, which they're gonna send us invoices for. You know, over these past 2 weeks, that's an expensive number there.
Yeah, it
We
is.
don't have this in the budget, and I just want to make it known that in order to help control these expenses, I understand that there's going to want to be discussions in regards to these legal fees, but we can't have individual board members emailing several times in regards to this, where we can kind of find a better way to direct questioning through legal counsel. So legal counsel has recommended that the board itself, in order to avoid this from happening again, that the board itself kind of put into motion a new rule that states that individual board members will bring up any type of legal inquiries or questions in a board meeting setting as an agenda item to be discussed with the board. And then from there, the board will decide if it will then go out to legal counsel for review. Not only does this help control, you know, these emails that go out individually from board members, but it would also help bring out a little bit of transparency, since all the discussion will be had in a board meeting setting and not just through emails itself. So I would just like to let the board know that that was a recommendation from legal counsel, and if that's something that would be acceptable to them.
It is. Why don't you put it to motion? Why don't you put the vote out?
Okay.
Well,
So
I think we should have a discussion. I'd like to hear from each of my board members about this. And I have.
Yeah. So I'll jump in just from a fundamental standpoint, from a fiduciary responsibility. We have to make sure that not just anybody can obligate an association to an expense. That we can't have 5, 6, 7 people, you know, committing funds for an association without it first being vetted by a board. And so the practice that we've had, I think we should rein that in, where you just can't, I can't call a vendor and come and tell them to cut the bushes or do something like that and obligate the association to that expense. That has to be approved by the board. Same thing here, that you can't just call the attorneys and demand that the attorneys do X, Y, and Z, because they're gonna charge us money to do that. So I think what the recommendation was, we're not telling people that they can't bring up issues, but typical standard protocol is the fact that those discussions happen at a board meeting. And if at the board meeting, they decide that we need to engage the board's counsel, then that's when counsel is engaged. And that's when the association is obligated to pay counsel. Now, if you have your own outside counsel, that's fine and dandy, but we can't have folks just willy-nilly calling calling attorneys at all hours of the day and all the other stuff, because every time you call them, every time you send them an email, the clock starts ticking in terms of an expense for the association.
Look, I'm on multiple boards, and this is the first board I've been on where board members start engaging association and board resources to launch personal and non-personal vendettas against the board members of the association. So that is just bad governance.
Yes.
It does not cover the fiduciary responsibility as a board member. Christine, you feel very strongly about some of these issues. An option for you may be to step down as a board member and then pursue whatever legal recourse you feel you're justified to, or the Ivy's justified to. Then you will not have a conflict of interest, and you're not engaged in behavior, which I think, and I may be wrong, by the way, I will say that, conflicts with your fiduciary responsibility to the board. Putting all of that aside, the theory, which Troy put very eloquently as he usually does, is that individual board members, not me, not Troy, not Elena, not yourself, can go and create an obligation for the board in whatever capacity it is without the unified vote of the board. So, Allan, am I describing the motion correctly?
You are, actually, and that's the whole point, that we want to make sure that the board
Okay,
actually
stop.
Mhm.
Mary Elena, do you have a question or comment to add? Because Christine correctly said we should, each one of us voice our opinion. I expressed mine, Troy did. You, if you would like to add a question?
Yes, any board that I've been part, whenever a board member needs or have question or inquiry, it's done collectively through the board, not individually calling the legal counsel, because that's can amount to numerous expenses, and everything should be funneled through the board.
And by the way, it defeats the purpose of a board. Then why is there a board at all?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Well, Christine, do you have a comment to add to this?
I didn't hear what she said.
What I said, Christine, this is Maria Elena. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Thank you.
Okay, sure. What I said was, in any board that I've been involved in the past, in order for an individual board member to be contacting the association council, it have to be directly through the entire board.
I agree.
Board members cannot be contacting council, because that creates an amounting expense that I think it's not right for the association or the rest of the board members to engage.
Okay. I'd like to say a few things, and I would ask all of you to please allow me some time. I was not able to speak at the November budget meeting. I was silenced, as was owners. The last meeting, I was silenced as well as owners. We could not speak.
Okay, Allan, here we go again. I am no longer going to engage with a disturbed individual who continuously makes false claims. She was not silenced. You speak longer and more than anybody else, Christine. I am not going to be subject to this nonsense again. You need mental health. That's clear. So Alan,
trying to
Alan,
do
I
here
will
is to
not.
maintain.
No, I'm a
Yeah.
board member.
Please,
Shahab,
please,
I have never
Alan,
interrupted
please,
you.
Alan, please,
Guys,
if you have a motion for a vote, for a
No.
motion, this thing with Christine Michaels has gone on far too long.
Okay.
It has already
You have
incurred
interrupted
$100,000
me
in legal
time
fees.
and time again.
I'm not talking to you, Christine. I'm talking to
Shahab,
Alan.
I have been respectful and courteous. I have never
You have never been
interrupted you.
respectful or courteous.
Hello,
You have
hello,
sent
hello,
numerous
hello, hello.
Allow me to
accusatory
Hello,
emails.
Allow me to
Guys.
speak, please.
hello, Christine, can you stick to the conversation here and not with, oh, I was allowed to speak, not allowed to speak, and so on and so forth?
Yes.
Can you stick to the conversation here, which is we want to pass a motion that restricts obligating the association to paying legal fees based on any individual board member's agenda or issues. That anything associated with contacting or engaging legal counsel has to be done collectively as a board, has to be sanctioned by a board, such that we don't have these runaway bills. That's what we want to talk about, just that.
Okay,
Not about past meetings and all that other stuff.
okay. I listened to all of you carefully, and thank you, Alan and Troy, for allowing me to speak and not interrupting me. I took notes of what you said. I was listening. You mentioned about vetting a board before these decisions. I agree. I have tried to ask for board meetings in the past to discuss budget, to discuss issues when I have requested a board meeting so that we may collectively meet to discuss. It has always been unanswered or denied. I believe that I am abiding my fiduciary duty in bringing issues of concerns. These are not personal issues. I take my role very seriously. I have spent significant time in listening to owners, not just at Ivy, but at Wind and Mint have shared their concerns. So again, Shahab's under the misunderstanding that it is personal. It is nothing personal. Is there conflict of interest out there? Yes, there is, but it is not involving me. I believe we should come collectively, and I agree it should not be an individual creating an obligation to use legal resources, but yet we have seen that with other board members. It is sad that a lot of our emails that are sent are written by our attorneys. It's not our manager, it's not our president. We see at the master that it's a lot of emails written by attorneys. I heard the same thing is happening in the Mint. It's unfortunate that attorneys are now running our organization, not per my request. So I am.
But just so I can make a comment on the management.
I'm not finished, please. Okay. I listened to you. I didn't interrupt you. So I would love to have board meetings, but again, I've been denied or ignored. I would like to have board meetings. We're talking about costs here. That's very important. We're all concerned about that. The Ivy did submit a revised budget proposal that has yet to be discussed and reviewed. So I don't think we should be
Christine,
any motions now. Before we make any motions.
Christine, in all due respect, I'm trying to be as amenable as possible. But the conversation is around whether or not we put limits or around individuals obligating the association to expenses. We're not here to talk about trying to have meetings. We're not here to talk about we sent in this and we did this and we did this. It sounds like you agree that no board member should be able to obligate the association to expenses, but on their own. And so if that's the case, can we get to the purpose of the meeting, which is to put the resolution on the table? And
you as President Troy can direct Allan to turn to legal. So you have that capability that I don't have. I am I am representing unit owners, not myself. I am turning to Siegfried, Lerner, Rivera, to Gary and Eddie for advice. I have not contacted them much. I have turned for their guidance. Okay, it has not been a lot. It's been very minimal.
Well, Christine, I beg to differ. There's $16,000 of you turning to Ackerman.
No, I did not turn to Ackerman. I turned to, that's a very good question. I'm glad you raised that, Troy. I turned to our manager. I turned to Allan. only Allan with questions that were never answered yet. And he forwarded to Ackerman. Ackerman answered one, the others were not answered.
So have you not sent email messages to Ackerman?
Maybe one recently, but most of my emails were sent to Yvonne or to Allan. They forwarded to Ackerman.
Have you been making phone calls and sending emails to Siegfried Rivera in which they have to respond and they're going to send us a bill too?
Very minimal, very minimal.
Well, we can debate.
Well,
we can
minimal is relative.
Yeah, we can debate
Okay.
minimal or not, but it sounds like you agree that that's not how we want to spend the association's money. That individual board members outside of what's inside of our governing documents should not have the right to obligate the association to pay these bills.
Well, we all know the reason that these are mounting is because of concerns over the marina that have.
It doesn't matter the reason it's mounting. It's the process, Christine. That's what we're trying to get at. The process is the fact that.
Let me explain to Christine and everybody else. The management was given a directive from the board that anything that has to deal with this marina, which the Ivy Association engaged legal counsel first, was to be directed to our legal counsel that we hired in response to Ivy. So at this point, the reason why management is consulting legal counsel is because we were given the directive from the board to go ahead and do that. So
And
when
please
you ask a
explain,
question about
Allan,
an
by the
open
way,
legal case.
Alan, please also explain that the legal process was started by Christine and the Ivy board. So that's a very salient fact here. We are required now to seek legal counsel as a board because the board was directed to do so since legal counsel was first retained against this. I think this is an important point you have to put out there.
Right.
I never like lawyering up, and everybody says that, but once somebody decides they want to lawyer up on whatever reason they think it's valid, then we are required. Again, it's a fiduciary responsibility as a board. Yeah, so
Right.
this whole
And
action starts, so you're leaving, Alan, I also want to go on the record as saying something else. You also have a fiduciary responsibility to this board and to this organization and to your own employer to run these meetings in a professional manner. And we all like to be understanding and amicable, but not every single meeting can become into a bully pulpit for Christine to vent and go on about matters that are not on the agenda. The reason parliamentary procedures work, the reason rules of debate work, and the reason we have boards is because everybody does feel passionate about their points, and Christine feels she's right, and other people feel they're right. And for it not to descend into speaking over each other, there are these rules that none of us love because everybody likes to be able to sit around and talk, but they're in place because we have an agenda that we want to get covered today, and there's an item that is on this agenda to be put to vote. And we discussed it. You heard from 3 out of 4 board members. And at this point, you put it to a vote.
Okay, before we do that, I'd like to add that I looked at itemized bills as my fiduciary duty. I looked at itemized bills because they were excessive and I brought them forward. Okay. Secondly,
The legal bills, are you talking about the legal bills?
Legalized bills.
All bills.
Christine, we're keeping this to the legal conversation. Please stop straying into other things. At the end of the day, the association approved Ackerman, and we responded to a demand letter that cost us $30,000. And that demand letter was responded to back on May 31st. So we've gotten no response from our response to the demand letter that was sent to us. So that was all sanctioned by the board. In addition, there is mounting bills from Siegfried Rivera based on their conversation, based on you reaching out to them to have conversations and sending them emails. There are also mounting legal bills from you on your own, reaching out to Ackerman, and they're responding to you or whatever the story is. And so the whole conversation here is that kind of expenditure and that reckless use of our resources, of our funds, because everybody's upset about budgets, that has to stop.
Right. And
Okay.
what we're trying to avoid here,
Talk
Christine.
about excessiveness. I think we have a duty to look at it in its entirety.
But
not
that's
just
what's on the
this.
agenda, Christine. If you want
Well,
to speak about the
exactly, because
excessiveness,
this board has chosen to pinpoint this issue, and those members who are on this call and followed this issue since last year know very well this is just to target me. We know very well
Stop
the
with
board
the
is
self-serving
this isn't
commentary.
to target you.
these
This
mounting
is actually,
bills. It's not.
Please stop with the self-serving
nobody's targeting you,
commentary.
Christine.
Alan, I am directing you to take a vote. This goes never with,
I have another question. I have another
anybody from the
question.
Ivy, you've had enough questions.
I
Christine.
have another
Anybody from the Ivy
Are you
should
going
know
to
that a
silence
board
me
member like
again?
this,
Are you going to
a
silence
board
me
member,
again?
a board
I have
member
another
like this,
question.
guys,
I have
which
been
is
courteous and
rude and
respectful.
you're
have-
not courteous, you're dishonest, you're untruthful, you always make acquisitions with no basis in fact, and you're simply
Shut
costing
up.
your building, your owners time and money, which we can ill afford to spend, and you have zero goodwill left with this board, Christine. So
Right,
you're not
listen,
serving yourself, you're not serving the board, you're not serving the members of the IVU. I hope they're hearing this because things get
Guys,
done when
I'm
people
gonna
work
end up,
together.
I don't want to
add two
mute
more
both of you
things.
at this point. I don't want to mute
I
both
would
of you.
like to add two more things. First of all, before this board votes
Christine,
on this
please,
motion,
can you
are
let me
we
finish
not, this is owners that are on this call listening. This is their money, not my money, not Troy's. This is their
You're
money.
spending their money.
I would
You're
like
spending
to
their
That's the
money.
point. That's the
I would
point of
like
this
to
meeting,
hear
Christine.
from unit owners before we vote. Would you like to hear, Maria Elena and Troy, would you like to hear from the people you represent before you vote? Because I certainly would.
What would you like for them to
Christine,
say?
I have only another 15 minutes for this meeting. It's been already 45 minutes, okay?
Okay, so you don't want to hear from owners. Troy, would you like to hear from owners? Because I certainly would.
Christine, I think the agenda allows for us to hear from owners. However, with respect to the motion on the table, I don't know that any owner is going to get me to bypass my fiduciary responsibility by making sure that individual board members cannot obligate the association to these kinds of expenditures. And so I make a motion. Hold on. I respect what you're saying. I am ready and willing and able to hear from individuals in the members specifically to this item, because we don't have 6 hours to talk about everything from homeless to marinas to whatever the story is. However, I do make a motion that we adopt the principle that we cannot engage legal counsel and run up a bill unless it has been discussed at a board meeting. And that's normal standard procedure from all the boards that I've been on. I've never seen a single board member, other than what's allowed for in the bylaws, be able to rack up this kind of expenditure. So I make a motion that we agree that all of those complaints or whatever the issues that potentially need legal engagement, that those conversations are had at a board meeting. And remember, all of our board meetings are open to everybody, so it's not like we're going to have these secret conversations. We will have those conversations in full view of the association members, and we will make the decision whether or not we want to engage.
Then my question to you, Troy and Shahab, again, I would like to hear from members. It's their money. What do you say? Should we hear from them? Would you like to hear from them before you
Christine,
vote?
I just said I'd like to vote on this specific amendment, this specific.
Troy, are you making a motion?
I think we should hear from owners.
Troy, are you making a
I
motion?
hear that. You think, okay.
What are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid of anything. We're going to hear from the owners. You
to make
think
this
one thing,
official.
I think another thing. And so we're going to
Then
put
let
it.
us hear from owners before we vote. You represent
I
owners.
want to hear from the owners after I vote.
After you vote.
Right, because they're not going to change my mind in terms of how I am responsible for people's money that's being spent irresponsibly by a single board member.
I agree there's money spent irresponsibly, but
So I am going to make this official, I am going to read exactly what we're going to put into rule stated, and it was recommended by our legal counsel. The rule will state that all non-emergency complaints and or demands of any member or director, along with any or all supporting evidence associated with such complaint or demand, shall be directed in writing to the Master Association property manager for consideration at the next scheduled meeting of the Board of Directors. Members of the Master Association shall not independently impose such demands upon the management company engaged by the Master Association, nor shall any member of the Master Association demand that the management company perform personal errands on behalf of the member unless such actions have been approved by the Board of Directors of the Master Association at a duly noticed meeting. Would there be a motion to pass this rule?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Motion
And just for the record, so people know, that is a 5-to-1 vote. That's not a 3-to-1 vote. That's a 5-to-1 vote. There are 6 seats on this board. One individual happens to hold 3 of those seats. So it's my understanding he voted all 3 of his in favor. And then you had both Mary Elena and myself. So that's 5 voted to make that resolution that Allan just read.
Okay.
Troy, may I also add
everybody
that
knows
since this is recorded, when you first brought this up, Christine kindly said, yeah, that makes sense to me also. Nobody should be able to do this. But then she went out to vote no against this. And this should be a matter of the record, and the recording of the proceedings will prove that. Thank you for allowing me to put that in.
Right.
I will now, if there are comments that would like to be made on this agenda item specifically, will there any associate members who would like to come forward?
How can they come forward if they're muted?
I can select them, they raise their hand, and I can go ahead and
Can you
unmute them.
explain that? Because that was not clearly explained at the beginning of the meeting, so owners know.
If you have a chance to make if you would like to make a comment, I will go ahead and unmute you. I'm going to go to Carl over here. Okay, Carl will be first.
Good afternoon. I'm very confused as to how the board feels that this is representative of the community. I personally believe that we have not gotten answers at all to any of the concerns about the marina, and that this is going to shoot us in the foot to get any progress in this matter whatsoever. This is steamrolling over any representation that we have, and there are hundreds of us who feel this way.
Thank you, Carl. What I am going to ask everybody here is that we kind of stick to the agenda item in question. I know people have many questions that they want to ask, but we have to be specific to the agenda item, which is in regards to legal expenses.
Okay, for the record, can you put your name, can you say your name and your unit number?
Right.
Carl,
we get-
the Ivy. So I feel that this specific motion is to silence Christine and to make it incredibly difficult to get any traction, raising anything up with this board.
The motion would happen now at this. If Christine does have something that she wants to bring up in regards to the marina specifically, it will now not have to go to legal counsel separately in an email from her to legal counsel. It will now be presented in a board meeting to be discussed with the board in front of the whole association. So it's kind of adding transparency more than silencing Christine.
No, it's not, because the board is not responsive to Christine's questions or comments.
When it's an agenda item, they have to be.
They don't get around to it, and then they steamroller her and they say, we don't have time for this, you need mental health.
Okay. Well, if she does feel that she needs to put this on the agenda item for the next board meeting, it will be.
The board is flirting with a lawsuit problem. That's what's going to happen if you continue this way. This is probably a way cheaper way to deal with it. Just answer the questions in the demand letter. We still haven't gotten any answers whatsoever.
The responses to your demand letter were sent out on May 25th to your legal counsel.
Yeah, 60 days, late, very late.
Right. You have to realize that it took about 30 days to obtain legal counsel.
And we're in the middle of COVID.
Thank you.
Lawyers don't have the internet.
Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Please raise your hand, or I don't see a lot of video footage here.
Do you guys turn on your video so you can,
I see Patrice here. Give me 1 second. I see him raising his hand.
You can also hit reaction and put your hand up.
Right. So Patrice, please go ahead.
Hello, guys.
What unit are you?
I'm 3111.
Okay. The Ivy or the Mint or the Wind?
Yeah, Ivy.
Ivy. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so my comments actually is the second time I'm joining here. I was kind of very concerned to hear the issues we are facing. I'm a very factual person, so I really I agree on what you were voting in this moment on having better controls on expenses and cost, right? So it would be my comment. I really like you are proposing this process. I think it's not normal to have unilateral decisions. While I agree as well that, of course, taking care money of owners is very important, right? So this will be just my comment.
Thank
you
you.
very much, Patrice.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, I see
And I
John.
think that's the way we want to do this. It's thank you for your comment. I don't think the purpose of this is to get into a back and forth.
Okay, I will move over to John here. I'll get to all of you guys with your hands up. I'll take a few more, okay? So go ahead, John.
I'm at the Win 3512. I'm actually new to hearing whatever it is that's going on, dilemma. My only feedback for everyone is remove your emotions out of this, because it feels that, and as an owner, I'm very concerned that there's too much emotions involved, and we are not going to find a reasonable solution to this, which will lead into more legal dispute, which is more expensive. I do have to agree that, and I'm going to be very impartial. I do agree with Christine's perspective. I also do agree with what the board just passed of not just one specific person just going straight to council to rank up a bill. No, it shouldn't work that way. We should be able to, control these processes and do them in an amicable way. But hearing this is my first meeting with you guys, and I must say I am very dissatisfied of how the board, the Master Association board, is handling this. I felt like I was a cat, and I was watching literally, I'm sorry, and I'm going to use this way, but it was a Real Housewife show. And I would everybody just remember your responsibility. You guys are here professionally, and just take your emotions aside, and just be respectful to each other. Whatever we have to agree to disagree, but just don't turn this into a show, because honestly, it is very discouraging and unprofessional. I mean, it makes me even not want to be in this building or association whatsoever if this is what's going on. I'm concerned now with how is it that my funds are being played with. So that's all I wanted to comment.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
John.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, let's see. I believe we have one more over here. This is Shanae, if I got your name correctly. I apologize if I did not. I see you have your hand raised. There you go.
For the record, I wanted to add, if I didn't make it clear before, that the manager, Allan, here refuses to respond to any inquiries, and a lot of it was sent to council. I didn't ask for council to respond. I asked for Allan to respond, and Yvonne and his district manager. So that's what a lot of the costs are.
Yeah, Christine, this is the
Just so
time.
we-
This is the time for the rest of the association folks to speak. And so, can you hold off and let the rest of the folks that are part of this association have
I
their
was
say?
jumping in
Thank
while
you.
Allan was. I was just jumping in, adding that while Allan was figuring out how to add folks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe
Hey,
at this
Allan,
point,
did you just unmute me? This is
I-
Shane from Ivy. Can you hear
I
me?
did unmute you. We can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Okay. So I'm sorry I cannot share the video. Something wrong with my camera. And I do want to share my feedback. I really agree with what John just said. It's Christine has been very respectful in all the board meetings I have also participated. But seems like, I don't understand why other board members are attacking Christine. There's the mental health. This is very disrespectful. And I feel I have a lot of concerns. The meeting is talking about why individual board members accumulating this legal fee, but why do we have this in the first place? And I think one of the reasons a lot of residents have concerns, and we're asking questions, and Christine represented us, and there's no response from board members. And I mean, this is like, we have to find the root cause. Why are we having those costs? If the demand letter we send out, if the board member or Allan can answer the questions, why do we even need to lawyer up? I don't understand.
So thank you very much for your comment there. At least to comment back, you have to understand that when the Ivy instituted their legal counsel to send a demand letter to us, it obligated the board to select legal counsel to respond back. Same thing with, and I don't want to get back into it, Christine, but
Sure,
with the
that's a
budget,
fact.
you did have
I
questions.
agree.
You did have questions that you wanted to share, right? You had questions in regards to the budget that you were not aware of or you were questioning. When that was sent to you, and when that was sent to the Ivy demand letter that was sent back to you back in January, it did have all the responses there. And from there hasn't been really any traction to that. Now we're here speaking about another Ivy demand letter where we are now answering questions which we responded back to on May 25th. And now we're sitting here also. So when people say that there aren't any answers being answered, it just does not feel like that is the correct way to go about this. We are answering all of these demand letters. And unfortunately, this second one required us to obtain legal counsel.
And again, I made simple inquiries to you, Allan, and you forwarded all to legal, what you could have answered yourself.
Well, you have to understand, Christine, that when the board directs me and legal counsel directs me to make sure that anything with this legal matter has to be answered, it has to be under their direction. The board directed me to do this.
Yeah, so the one thing, and I'm reluctant to pop in here, but I would ask all of the individuals on the call right now, how many of you have seen or have been given a debrief on the response to the demand letter? We paid $30,000 for it. I know what it said, but to your point, a lot of the answers to the questions are in the response to the demand letter. So has there been, I'm not asking for an answer, but to the point that I think I heard a bunch of people here say, have you gotten a readout, or have you read, or have you been given access to the response to the demand letter? Because that's where a lot of the questions have been answered. So part of it is, yes, I'm asking questions, but the part of it is, hey, am I getting the answers, and am I, and the people that are responsible for giving me those answers, are they giving me access to those things? So I think that's part of the root cause in a sense that, answers are being given, but are they?
Yes, they are aware, Troy. I represent the Ivy. I can tell you they are aware. Therefore, they come to me with questions, but we don't have a board meeting. We don't have board meetings. I asked for board meetings. We don't have board meetings to have this open forum that you guys are talking about now with legal issues, but you don't want to have it with other issues.
Okay. Christine, with all due respect, the demand letter came from the Ivy board. The response to the demand letter went back to the Ivy board. And what I'm pointing out is, for those of you that are curious as to what the answers were to that, A, were you privy to the questions that were asked in that demand letter? And B, were you privy to the answers that were given to that demand letter? Because we collectively, as the Riverfront Association, we just paid north of $30,000 for that document. I would want to read it. I would want to know what it said. And so
exactly. And to answer that, as John and this other gentleman just said, they have questions. They have follow-up questions. In that process that you just described, Troy, you and Shahab were sent a notice by Allan. Ackerman, the attorney, had to direct Allan to send the both of you notices that you're in violation. So now owners see that those violations continue. So they're coming to me. What's happening?
Christine, I'm talking.
What?
Christine, I'm talking about. There was never any violations sent.
There were never any violations.
There were never any violations.
To everybody on this call asking me why I'm not being respectful, I have been very respectful to Christine. I have had numerous conversations with her. There was a gentleman who felt I was being disrespectful to her. I want you all who are listening to this realize that Christine repeatedly uses this opportunities to grandstand and make patently false statements and claims. It's a waste of time, and has become a monumental waste of money. Now,
So
everybody
the direction that we're heading in now with this meeting, I believe if we don't have any more questions from the association members, we will make a motion.
So Allan, I think there's one individual that's raising his hand and he's waving. We should respect him and get to him. My only plea is that for those of you that are here from the Ivy board sent a list of questions in the form of a demand letter to the Master Association. The Master Association took that demand letter. It's not a lawsuit. We responded to that back in May. The question I'm asking, it's a rhetorical question, have you been privy to the questions that were asked, and the responses that were given. This has nothing to do with Christine. This has nothing to do with the Master Association. This is the Ivy Board. The Ivy Board spent money to create the demand letter. You guys, as a member of the Master Association, spent money to have a response. I think you have the right to understand what questions were asked and how were those questions answered. And then
And they are. That's very valid.
Christine, I'm speaking. Christine, let me finish.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't recall, and those of you that are in the Ivy, I don't recall the fact that there was a meeting of the members of the Ivy to tell them, hey, here's the questions we're going to ask. Oh, and by the way, back on May 31st, we got the response. Here's the response to the questions. Instead, we get all these conjecture and this and that, and Christine here, and the Master Association here, and Shahab here, and Mary Elena, and Allan. I think at this stage of the game, before we say that, hey, there's transparency or there's lack of transparency, I think you guys have the right, and you should demand that you get answers to what was asked and what the answers were from the Ivy Board.
Right, and to further to that, I think it'd be most appropriate to have in a Riverfront meeting, but we don't have those meetings. We have these tiny little meetings, these tiny little segments just to talk about this, to target me. Owners are not stupid. They know what's causing all these legal issues. So I suggest we have a meeting very soon to address all this, to address the budget in its entirety. I think that's very important.
Troy, I agree with you completely in that we should discuss the points and discuss what was in the demand letter and discuss the answers, and it should be an open forum for all the people paying, which are not Shahab. Shahab doesn't pay a penny. It's all us unit owners, and there are hundreds of us who are on Christine's side, and these points need to be addressed, period.
I totally agree. And that's an Ivy conversation.
No. It is not.
No, hold on. Let me finish. The demand letter is an Ivy conversation. The demand letter came from the Ivy.
No.
Yes, the demand letter came from the board of the Ivy. So I'm not saying we shouldn't have a broader conversation. Absolutely. But at least walk into that broader conversation already having your questions answered based on the questions that you guys spent at the Ivy to get created, sent over to the Master Association, and then you as a member of the Master Association paid for those responses. At least, so people need to stop asking questions, or what we have to do is provide a forum for people to stop asking the same questions over and over again, and at least read the answers to the questions that have already been answered.
No, I think we need to answer Carl. This is what owners coming to me, John from, I think he signed off from the Wind. I represent over 500 owners. I have a lot of people asking me, we need to have a board meeting. It's going to take more than an hour, 2 hours, because these are a lot of questions. We have a responsibility to address it in its entirety, not in these little piecemeals like we're doing. We have a responsibility to talk about all the issues, the impact on the budget, revisit the budget, not piecemeal. To me, doesn't do any good.
Again, my only point is we've already spent more than, the members that live in the Ivy collectively have spent money asking those questions. I'm not so sure that the people in the Ivy know what questions were asked specifically, and I'm not sure that the folks in the Ivy have gotten the answers. So it doesn't make sense to walk into a meeting and ask the same question over and over and over again, especially when you've just spent north of $30,000 to have those questions asked and answered.
I agree, Troy, but to the larger picture, we are all owners at the Riverfront. This is addressing the Riverfront, which is all owners.
I'm not debating
right,
that.
Guys, where this meeting is going, we have approached the hour mark, okay?
Okay, there's one other hand over here, John, I think.
No, Norma had her hand raised. Norma had her hand raised.
I don't see it.
Norma had her hand raised.
Allan, can you please chair the meeting?
Yes, please.
Christine's not the chairperson. Chair the meeting.
I need you guys to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at this point.
Excuse me.
No, you still have to vote. You still have to vote. You still have to vote on the motion that.
Right, but you still have owners that want to speak.
The motion was passed.
Motion,
I'm
motion passed, so.
at work and I
Alright.
have other commitment that I have to do, so I need to.
I'm sorry, the same for me. Alan, would you like to pass a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I would like to pass a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second that.
All right.
I don't. I still wanted to hear from owners.
I appreciate the time that everybody's taken to come and join. There will
John is
be.
still waiting there. Sorry, John, we tried. I tried.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining the meeting, and I guess let's stay tuned for the next. Hope everybody stays safe.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you,
have a good
everybody.
afternoon,
Be
okay?
safe.
Thank you.
Lori, Marilena,
Thank you,
Christine,
everyone.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.